Hi, I'm Nick Phipps. I'm the Senior Game Designer and Associate Lead here at Ubisoft Abu Dhabi. I work primarily on Growtopia and manage the day-to-day stuff of that project and lead the design team. So every single company is going to have a slightly different way that they define what a game designer does, what their role is. The game designer can be very, very specific depending on the size of the team. So a larger team is likely to have more specific roles for the game designer, and a smaller team, the game designer is going to do a lot of little extra things that they might not do in a bigger team. In general, the game designer will be the one who comes up with the idea, the initial idea, and then they tend to be following through the entire process, answering questions to the other teams, filling in gaps where we might not have expertise. And in general, they are the one who keeps the entire development process on track and heading in the same direction the whole way through. Well, that one is pretty much everything. A game designer sort of will draw from all of their life experiences. So the more sort of ideas and fun you have from your own experiences, the better you'll be as a designer. But first and foremost, you need to be able to communicate. The ability to have an idea in your head and be able to tell that to somebody else is essentially the core skill of a game designer. So you want to be able to level up your ability to communicate an idea to other people, go and tell them, get feedback, and be able to take feedback, changing your ideas and changing how you communicate depending on everybody you're talking with. Game designers use a lot of just general presentation tools. They use a lot of Word documents, and also you'll use a lot of Excel sheets, a lot of random computer capture tools. Literally anything that the other teams use, you're probably going to use in various elements yourself as well. So you'll be using Photoshop, and potentially you'll be using some programming tools depending on the team's tools. You'll be using all the version control tools that the team uses. You might even jump in, do some video editing, sound, all of that fun stuff. So literally anything that is involved in the entire game development process, the game designer is probably going to have to touch at some point. But the most important ones are generally your presentation tools and your documentation tools, as well as Excel. I cannot emphasize how much we use Excel. So starting with, for any system that we're doing, we have to come up with the objective. That's the first place. Start by looking through player feedback, looking through other people's feedback, looking through data to try and figure out what we want to achieve. Then we'll go away and come up with like thousands of ideas. Usually we'll whittle that down to maybe 5 or 6, not 1,000. But at least 5 or 6 ideas that are sort of solid and can achieve what we're trying to do. Then we'll get in all of the other designers to come and look over it, and we'll add extra bits as we go, and then we'll sort of try and narrow that down to maybe 1 or 2 ideas that we're going to move forward with. Once we have all of the detailed documentation, then we're ready to go and take it to the rest of the team. This one pretty much is literally everything. As I mentioned at the start, design is very much about all of your experiences will come into play at some point. So for me personally, I try to start with players' feedback as one of the sort of grounding points, because when the players are talking about something, it's usually a good point to start with. But for me, I get a lot of my ideas from my kids, watching them play, do silly things, all of the crazy stuff that kids do. And like my daughter likes to play games, so I'll watch her play games. I'll see the silly things she does or the fun that she has in a completely random area. And so those are usually a good starting point for my ideas. Also just everyday lifetime experiences. So going out and going on a roller coaster, or going to a theme park, or sitting at the beach, or going out in the park. All of these give you inspiration. You'll see a little squirrel running, and that'll give you a spark of inspiration for how it could jump or some feature you could add. So literally everything you're watching and seeing around you can be integrated into what you're doing. I also consume a lot of media, just everything, not just the kind of stuff I like, but sort of trying to be broad. I play games that I wouldn't typically enjoy myself, but I play them to see what they have. I'm always watching TV and bringing up kids shows and really serious murder mystery movies, and like the broad knowledge of random stuff that we bring up in our design discussions is kind of a little bit crazy. Player psychology is sort of understanding how your player thinks, and not just one player, but all sorts of different types of players, and being able to incorporate that into your design. So we have both players who've been playing for 11 years and also brand new players. So when we make a change to an existing system, we have to consider like a player who's been doing this thing for a long time. So we can't make massive changes that are going to change how that player is expecting to see the feature. When it comes to using data for designing, a lot of it is an iterative process. So we have an idea that we want to make a change, we implement that change, and then we track that through data because we have millions and millions of players. So we can't individually see what a few players are doing or take feedback from only one or two players. So we check the data to validate any of the feedback we do get to see how representative it is of our actual player base. So if we get a bunch of comments saying that I like or don't like this and they may conflict, then we can check the data to see how many of our players are having one side of it versus the other to see which argument is actually representative of the bigger player base. It's not that either side is wrong, it's more trying to understand how much of an impact any kind of feedback is to the broader player base. So when it comes to data-driven design, one of the most common examples is an A/B test, where you will have two different versions of something. You'll have one version here that has the existing data, and usually you're using that as a control to know exactly what the current system performs as. And then you'll have another version over here that is new data that we're trying to make a change with. So we want to change something and we want to know if this is going to perform better than the old stuff. So we will put them both live, and then we will see how the new one versus the old one perform, and we will take whichever one does better for what we're trying to achieve and use that then as the thing moving forwards. Memorable items that I designed was one of the Hungry Shark crossovers that we did with one of our other Ubisoft brands. We did a Megalodon riding item a long time back, and that was one of my first ones that I was really enjoyed how it looked, how it felt, and so that's probably my favorite item from a long time back. But in general, I design so many items that there's always something new that I really like and enjoy every time, so yeah. So I've been working on Growtopia for years now, so pretty much anything you see in Growtopia will have my design work in it somewhere. You can go download Growtopia right now on any of the app stores, as well as Steam and Ubisoft Connect, and our official website also has a PC version. So go play Growtopia now, see what my work has been doing.